to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today we're in the home studio. We're over the Skypes. We've got a guest we've been trying to line up for a while here. Now, if you went to Star Wars Celebration Chicago and you were walking around, and every now and then the corner of your eye you'd see a chap with a camera in his hand, there's a very good chance it might have been my guest here today. It's the happy snapper from Star Wars Celebration Chicago, Paul Ponte. How you going, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Now, you were the man with the camera at Celebration. Every time I saw you, you had a camera in your hand.
Yeah, I like to figure myself somewhat of a photographer, so I was trying to take as many photos as possible, especially since it was my first celebration, and I was a little, maybe, excited.
Capturing some precious memories.
Yes.
Well, that's how we kind of got talking. We sort of moved in similar circles around Celebration, and then we were at the Steel Wars show on the Saturday night. I remember you were taking a bunch of photos and stuff, and we just started chit-chatting, and as you do at Celebration, you make new friends pretty quick and stuff. So first Celebration, what was you came away hungry for more?
Absolutely. I'm already lined up for the next one. I'm very excited.
Nice. How'd you go getting tickets and everything? Was it a bit of a hairy experience like everyone else, or you were all right?
Oh, yeah, especially because I was at work when this was happening, and I don't really have access to a computer at work I can use, so I'm doing it on my phone, and it's just, that's already scaring me, and I lined up so my lunch break would be exactly when I could start doing, being on there and waiting for it to come out, and then you start hearing, the early stuff of, well, now the VIP sold out, and it's like, don't start scaring me with things like this when, trying to get my tickets.
Did you have an attempt? Would you have attempted a VIP? Would you get a VIP had the chance? Or you're like,
probably not.
I don't really need that.
It's like, it's just a tier above what I would spend on it.
Yep.
I forgot how much they were, but I want to say
$1,000 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if it was like $700, I would think about it. I would be like,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, obviously, getting into everything was a big thing. But I mean, they're talking about the VIP area, but then it was just like some room with a couple of tables and stuff in it, wasn't it? It wasn't like
that would. I would more be excited about it, such as going through the store line quicker or going up further in autograph sessions. That'd be more the reason to get it, I would think, for me anyway.
Yeah. So did you do a bunch of autographs and photos and stuff as well at Celebration? I don't remember whether we talked about that.
So the only two people I got Katie Sackhoff, and of course I did the.
Was it a B-Star G thing more than a Star Wars thing?
It really was. Yeah, I brought her a Viper model for her to sign for me.
Nice.
And so they wouldn't authenticate the autograph because it was not a Star Wars item, which was funny to me.
Oh, really? They're like, hey, we don't go for that rival shit around here, man.
Yeah. They had the little stickers ready, the little authentication stickers, and I held it out so they could put it on it, and the guy's like, no, that's not happening. And I was like, okay,
not
my bad.
X-Wing, sir.
Yeah.
Take your somewhere else.
Yeah, and then the other I got was my sister actually got me a photo op with Billy D. Williams, so I was very excited to get that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was it just you?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I know that Dallas Wood from Bad Motivators, he had a couple of mates who did Billy D and things, and it's always nice, but there's sort of 8 guys all around Billy D and things. So they say it's sort of the best 10 seconds of your life. Is it really? Is that how it felt for you?
Yeah, I just figure because you're not gonna have a conversation. You just there's these opportunities are not really there for that. It's more just take a quick photo. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna basically figure out I had one thing I could say to him. So I just walked up, and the first thing I did was I just went, "Ha, you old pirates," and he laughed, and I was like, okay, I won. That's it. That's all I could ask for. I made Billy D. Williams laugh. That's all I need.
He wasn't sort of stony faced, just like, how much I get that line at me.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, your photo's taken, and you've got a sad face because you've made Billy D upset.
Yeah, he gave me a good ha. I was like, all right, sounds great.
Billy D knows the game.
Yes, exactly.
He knows so as a photographer, were you sort of critiquing the setup? You go like, oh, I don't know about this lighting in here. I brought a few things of my own.
One thing that I always think about, the lighting and everything is fine. But one thing I always notice is, especially at photo ops, how quickly they are able to take photos and have them come out decently. And I'm a little bit jealous of that. because
is it just the one that they take, or do they take 3 or 5 and you kind of pick? Like, is it just shut sort of thing?
See, that's what's scary. They usually take like 1 or 2, and then they just give you one of them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's very nerve-wracking for me because, you know, you pay for this thing, and if the photo sucks, if you don't like the way your face looks, you know, there's not what can you do about it? So
you can't demand a do-over.
Yeah. So then the fact that you're kind of like waiting for it to print out on that thing afterward, like behind the curtain, just waiting, like, oh no, what's gonna happen? But it's shocking how quickly they get like a photo that's good, because they usually are like, and okay, all right, bye. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. I didn't go for the photos. I'm not really a photo guy. I kind of the sad thing was I sort of spoken about it leading up, going, something like I'd like to do Peter Mayhew because I'm a Chewy guy, and now of course obviously now he's passed on. You're like, oh god, I really wish I had done that. But I mean, it's always the thing of hindsight that you look at that kind of stuff. But
yeah, I had the same experience at locally here. They have a Silicon Valley Comic Con, which is made by Steve Wozniak of Apple fame, and and Stan Lee was the producer of it also. And of course, the year I go, and he's doing autographs and he's doing pictures, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna get it. And then of course, I really wish I had that now.
And the fact he's been doing it for 50 years as well, you know, like countless opportunities to have done it. You know, if you'd gone to a convention, seen Stan Lee, you know, before sort of 2002, you probably could have just walked up to a table and, you know, like only the people who've been into comics, you know, back in the day would know who Stan Lee is, and now it's like trying to meet Elvis towards the end.
Exactly.
And everyone knows him. So is Lando your guy sort of growing up? Is that why your sister sort of threw a Lando, or just sort of like, this is a good chance to get?
Like, this is just a good, like, it would be a cool photo. Just Billy D. Williams is just, like, very cool, you know? It's just, it was just one of those things where she was like, well, I was leaning between Peter Mayhew or Billy D. Williams, and she just settled on Billy D. And I thought, okay, that's cool. I mean, I do love Billy D. Williams, and I love doing that impression every time. It's a terrible impression, but I do love going, haha, you old pirate. I do that to, like, my friends all the time. So,
nice.
Maybe that's why she picked it. I don't know. But I just really wanted, like, I like photos better than autographs. The only reason I got the Katie Sackhoff autograph is because I actually had a model for her to sign, because I thought that would be a cool thing to have.
Yep.
But I don't have, like, you know, like, I don't collect autographs. I don't feel like it's a thing that I really care about.
I remember when I saw, I think I've told this story in this podcast before somewhere, but I'll tell it again anyway. When I saw Revenge of the Sith, I just moved to London. I lived in London for about 10 years, and I moved to London. It was few months after I'd moved to London, and I'd made a few friends and things, but I hadn't not enough to be like, hey, who wants to come see Revenge of the Sith at midnight down the road, you know? So I was like, I'll go on my own, and I was like, all right, well, I'll get there, you know, an hour and a half early, and I'll go and I'll get my ticket and I'll get on my stuff and I'll stand, you know, I'm very much like, I've got to have a good seat. I can't be sitting in the crap seats for Revenge of the Sith. That doesn't happen. I'll happily wait an hour and a half if I have to. And so I got there, and I think I was first or second in line waiting to go into this thing, and there was this bloke standing next to me, and he must have been probably 20 years older than me then. I was sort of 20, 25 then, and, you know, he was probably around 50, and he had this huge folder in his hand, with big plastic sheets in it. And he looks at me and he goes, oh, so I got myself a Ewan McGregor the other day. And I went, what does that mean? And he opened the thing, and they had an autographed photo of Ewan McGregor in the thing, in this folder. And he goes, oh, Ewan's doing Guys and Dolls on the West End. And I was waiting out the back for an hour to try and get his autograph. But I think it was just it wasn't an Obi-Wan photo. I seem to remember it was like he doesn't like signing Star Wars things. I think Ewan McGregor said before, like he likes signing stuff for kids. He doesn't really like professional signing stuff for professionals, which, you know, fair enough. But anyway, this guy had snuck in basically. But then he started going through his photos. He's like, that's me David Prowse. There's me Kenny Baker. There's me Carrie Fisher. And he had them all. Like, to his credit, he had them all.
But he had this in a folder?
He had it in a huge big folder
that he brought to the movie?
That he brought to the movies. Like, I don't know whether he was expecting Natalie Portman to show up or something like that to the View Cinema in Shepherd's Bush in London in 2005. That he thought that somehow she was going to pop up and be like, so who would like an autograph?
Yeah. Or was he like, Was he like, I'm here to see the movie with my friends?
Yeah. Or like, if I'm gonna find anybody who's remotely interested in this folder, it's gonna be waiting to see Revenge of the Sith. In line at midnight.
You just imagine him with like his friends, and they're like, nobody cares about. He's like, someone will care. Someone will care.
Yeah. And then he would have walked out of Revenge of the Sith going, wow, that's the end of Star Wars movies. There's no one left to show. And all of a sudden, there's new movies that I like to think that he's still showing up to that cinema now in London, for The Rise of Skywalker. He'll have a slightly, he'll be like, there's my John Boyega, there's me Oscar Isaac, there's my Daisy Ridley.
I bet because Boyega, I know he did a play in London I think like in between filming Force Awakens and Last Jedi. So I bet that guy was probably there.
Oh yeah, look, he looked like he was in it for life. Like he'd been in there for a long time. Like he had like obscure Imperial officers and stuff, because a lot of the, Imperials back in the day were all played by British actors. They were shot in Britain, so he had, Admiral Piet and all these other blokes and all the slightly obscure guys who did Star Wars, but then were probably just on UK TV for years and stuff after. But, yeah. So did you have chase stuff at Celebration, like figures, or was there any sort of exclusives that you were chasing?
Only the Tiki mugs. There's this Millennium Falcon Tiki mug that they had, and it's a stretch to call it a mug because it's giant. It's
like a bucket, isn't it?
Yeah, the drink you would get out of it is pretty. You'd be feeling pretty good afterward. And then also they had this big Rancor Tiki, which holds 40 ounces, and that's a lot of alcohol, but it also came with a tiny little
it's a big Mai Tai, isn't it?
Yeah, it also came with like a tiny little Luke like shot glass version of a tiki mug that he holds in his hand. So I like those cool. Because those are like, I like putting those on the shelf. Like I have a few tiki mugs on the shelf, and I like that stuff. But figures and stuff I've never really been into, purely because I know myself, and what'll happen is if I get a few, it's going to spiral out of control very quickly. And so I've kind of been refusing to do it.
Yeah, I've kind of fallen down a rabbit hole a bit with some Black Series stuff, and I never really collected much, but then, because they're so expensive in Australia and hard to get, and then sort of some discount stores got some excess stock, and then you could get them for like $10. So I started getting a couple of the cheap ones, and then, but I'm not a completist, I just sort of get the ones I want. But then when I went to Celebration, I was like, oh wow, they've got everything, and it's not that it's not as expensive. So I ended up coming back with a suitcase of stuff. I emptied the suitcase, made some room, and came back with some things. So I mean, Australia's pretty rubbish for figures, so I think I'll hold my powder until next Celebration, pick up the ones I want, I think. So so with Anaheim, have you, like, do you have any sort of thoughts about, like, what's it going to be about? Is it just going to be TV stuff, you reckon? Is that, I mean, there's not maybe announcing what the movie's going to be about?
Yeah, I can only imagine they kind of go into a preview of what the next thing we're going to have, as far as like maybe the Rian Johnson trilogy or something. And it's going to be like very early on, I bet. It'll be like, maybe they'll be like, we have an actor who's going to be in it. What kind of role? And then now cue another 2 years of people wondering who this person's playing.
Oh, you think they won't even say that? They'll just be like, oh, and whatever, Brie Larson's in it. Yeah. But we're not going to tell you anything else.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're going to be like, well, I noticed her nose kind of looks like the nose of this one lady, so that's probably her mom. And then that's what everyone's going to talk about for the next 2 years. And, and then everyone will be upset because she played Captain Marvel, and you know how the internet took that well.
Oh, yeah, well, the internet gets mad about everything. So do you look at something like Marvel, like Comic-Con, where they come out and they're just like, here it all is, there's 10 projects. Here's all, I think that was only 2 years of stuff anyway, but do you sort of want to see that kind of way with the Star Wars, they map it all out? You don't want to be drip-fed little nuggets.
I like getting like the bare necessities, the bare minimum, because there's been like a joke thing where, like, especially at D23, but I feel like they did it this year at Comic-Con too, where they announced some of the Marvel movies, like the Doctor Strange and the Masters of whatever they called it, but all they're really showing you is a font and a title, and it's kind of like, oh, a font reveal.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. And that's kind of like, font. Do I need this in my life right now? But,
I guess, like, I suppose that the Marvel stuff, it's like, they kind of dropped a little bit of sort of, we're doing Blade, and nobody was really thinking about doing Blade, but doing another Thor and stuff. But for the most part, you're kind of going, well, these are the characters that are left. Doctor Strange is there, and they've talked about Eternals, and the reveals aren't as earth shattering. Like they're kind of giving you a bit of insight of what they're doing with them. But in this world of Star Wars now, it's like all bets are off. They keep saying this Skywalker saga is ending, so whatever it's going to be, like a title or saying what it's about is huge, because it could be a million different things.
Yeah, and I got in a little tiff on Twitter with someone about it because they talked about, well, you could say what you want about how much you like Star Wars, but Marvel has created this thing that has probably topped it, and I disagreed, of course, full stop, because my point was that Marvel movies are allowed to be mediocre at times. Star Wars movies are not. If there's any part that people feel isn't to their liking, they are immediately like, worst thing ever, ruining my childhood, everything, the sky is falling, cats and dogs are living together, everything's a big problem,
Mass hysteria.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Marvel can kind of go like, well, yeah, Iron Man 2 happened. Oh, well.
Yeah, I've said this a few times on the podcast. The Star Wars movie becomes part of your life, it becomes part of the furniture. All of a sudden you start, especially for sort of fans like us, the quotes and the things and the stuff that happens, it has an impact. It has a lasting impact, I think. Like Endgame came out, everybody went and saw it and enjoyed it, had a good time. Like it's out on digital already, like it's kind of there, and I just don't think we'll be talking about Endgame. Like you're just moving on to the next thing. Like it was an achievement. Don't get me wrong, and I enjoyed it. I went and checked it out, but I'm kind of like, oh yeah. All right, what do you got next? And they've already moved. They've already gone. They've gone Spider-Man. We've moved on. Like the story's moved on. All these things happened. Like Star Wars, but they make you wait. But I think the payoff is the way that it impacts you a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's really easy to say, like in hindsight, like because we've had all these movies now to like kind of minimize the effect that Star Wars has had. But like, do you think sitcoms and cartoons in the next 20, 30 years are going to constantly be making references to the Marvel movies? No. But we grew up watching like The Simpsons constantly have little Star Wars parodies within episodes. We grew up with like sitcoms where there's a Halloween episode and a kid's dressed like Yoda and he quotes it. Like there's these things that permeate every other part of entertainment. And I don't think as big as the Marvel universe or any other franchise is, it's not going to have the same kind of permeation in everything else.
Yeah, well, it's sort of the scale of it, and as so much of it is what makes it is part of its success. So in order to continue that success, it has to keep sort of churning these things. You know what I mean? Like it's part of it. Like if they went back and said, "Hey, we're doing one a year," or a Marvel movie every 2 years, it would kill it. It's this sort of, it's almost like you're watching a soap opera or you're watching a continual series, but they're making you go to the cinema to watch it. Basically, it's like watching a TV series where every episode costs $200 million and you get to see three episodes a year. Yeah, and which is only half as many as Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so. And don't get me wrong, for the most part, I like most of the Marvel movies. There's a few I could kind of do without, but what they've done is a huge achievement. I just think it's very easy for people now that Endgame has came out and it was this massive juggernaut to kind of minimize other things when. Let's put it into perspective. One thing changed the cultural zeitgeist, and one thing is a good group of movies that we have seen.
So, coming up to Rise of Skywalker, are you a no spoiler man? Are you like, I just want to be, I want to be surprised, or can you not be able to help yourself?
So I've been a little more spoiler friendly than I have been in the past two movies. But still not all the way. So I won't spoil anyone that's going to be listening to this, but there is a big scene that Jason Ward, of course, talked about on Making Star Wars that I kind of let myself hear him talk about. Yep. And it got me very excited for the movie, even more so. And then there was another episode where later on he was going to start talking about something else, and I skipped past it because I didn't want to hear it. So I don't know why I felt like I could hear one thing, but not the rest. But, I let myself dabble a little bit, I'll say this time.
I remember I've always been pretty avoiding of spoilers. I never really dabbled in spoilers and stuff. But I remember actually going back to Revenge of the Sith, actually. I went spoiler-free for Revenge of the Sith, like all the way through. We all kind of knew how it was going to end, I suppose. And I remember the day before or 2 days before Revenge of the Sith came out, some photos from like the storybook or something came out. And for some stupid reason, I clicked on them. And they had I saw crunchy Anakin, like burnt Anakin, kind of like on the I remember seeing that and just going, why did I click on that? Like, why would I spoil that? Of all the things, like, I was that close. For some reason in my brain, I thought, oh, I'll just have a look at that. I'll just dabble. But yeah, look, I steer clear from the spoilers. Anything that they're happy to show me, like I watch the trailers.
Yeah,
that's no worries. But then, sort of when the TV spots start, I tend to even get away from them because they just they tend to show a little bit too much for me. But
now the internet's an even more dangerous place, because if you go on Facebook, and there are people that are just awful, and what they'll do is they'll go into random comments on like a sports team's page, and in the comments you'll see a spoiler for a movie that's about to come out, just because people want to ruin other people's lives. And I'm like, why would you do this to people? It destroys me.
That's when you gotta do the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and go around to their house and
exactly.
beat them up.
You are the ones.
Yeah. Like I don't want to ruin anybody's good time. If somebody wants to get into spoilers, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But and if most people who do spoilers for the most part are like yourself, you're like, look, I'll keep it to myself. And, if you want to seek them out, it's pretty easy to seek them out. What do you do for opening night? Do you have a routine? Do you have a bunch of friends? Do you sort of do the same thing when Star Wars movie comes out?
So I am, for most of the big tentpole films, I am the friend who buys the tickets for everyone. I'm the guy who will go and buy a block of 10 tickets or 8 tickets or so in a row.
Yep.
Because a nice assigned seating at the local theater.
Yeah.
And then I tell my friends, okay, who wants to go? And then I kind of get it lined up that way. So like I was the one who got it for The Force Awakens. I got it for The Last Jedi, and I'm gonna be the one to get it for Rise of Skywalker, I'm guessing. I really lucked out on The Last Jedi because I believe it was like on a Monday Night Football night. They decided in America, they were like,
oh, they showed the trailer, didn't they?
And they said
like, tickets are on sale.
Once the trailer's done, the tickets go on sale. But my local theater, 4 hours before the trailer went on sale, I just went to the website real quick, and it was there.
Oh.
And no one and I opened the thing, and all the seats are just open and ready to be bought. And I was like a child, like at a candy store. I was like, "Woo, okay." So I immediately like picked my favorite seats and did everything. And then I called my friends, and I was like, "You have no idea what I've done. I've cracked it."
They're like, wow, is it better? Is like row J better or row, K? I can't see. They're both in the middle. Like they're both middle in the middle. Like, is it slightly? Do you like being near the front, or you kind of like I'm in the middle kind of man?
I like the seats that are kind of near the bottom, but they're like after the walkway break.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are my favorite seats. I like looking a little bit up at the screen, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like, especially in those recliner chairs, it's kind of nice to look up a little bit. Force Awakens, because that theater at the time is now a reserved seating theater, but for Force Awakens it was not. It was a you have to wait theater. So the showing was at 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. I think, and we went there at 6:30 in the morning. And
I think they say 6:30 at night. I'm like, geez, you cut it pretty fine, but yeah, 6:30 in the morning should do it.
Yeah. So we were first, and the next people after us were there 20 minutes later. So we were not crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had like, and it was like really fun because at the time I was doing a podcast. So I was interviewing people in line. I was like having a little fun with it. You know what I mean? Me and my co-host at the time were making a day of it basically. And then brought an iPad and we watched the, like the 6 movies in line before watching The Force Awakens. So it was like, it was like a great time, and I kind of, don't get me wrong, I'm glad I don't have to wait that long to see a movie anymore. But at the same time, I kind of missed that weird like camaraderie. Steele mentioned it on his podcast before about missing the waiting in line all night for Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah. Well, I'd mentioned on this before, but I'll just quickly retell. For Force Awakens, I went to the midnight screening that Steele organised with one of the fan clubs here in Melbourne in the big cinema. And it was all just basically like you bought your tickets. There was no, they just kind of gave out the seating as needed. And I had me and some friends and stuff. And for whatever reason, there was like 4 of us. And we were, basically, we couldn't have been in worse seats. We were basically like the second or first row from the front on the far side of the, looking up at the screen, like the Bowfinger seats. Have you ever seen the movie Bowfinger?
Yes.
This is what and they go to their own premiere and they get stuck in the side of the, yes, I'm glad somebody gets this reference.
Yes.
I've made it a few times and nobody else has got it. And Steve Martin's like, oh, these are good seats. That was like, we were in the Bowfinger seats. I remember and just, and I felt, because I'd, similar to you, I was like, yep, come on, I brought a bunch of friends and stuff. But, once that movie started, I didn't even notice. Like, I didn't even realize where I was sitting. I just sort of was, got taken into it. But, I don't know if we're still sort of waiting to see whether Steele will do the trilogy and come back to Melbourne for the final one.
And he had, what's it called? The guys from Comedy Film Nerds there too, right? Chris Mancini and
Grant
Grant
the
Melwood.
first one he did, yeah. So they flew over for it. So we were at the, so after you watch the movie at midnight, they do a live comedy show after, so you don't end up leaving until about 4 or 5 in the morning. So it's it's a long night. But,
that's how I met Steele, was at those two run a podcast festival, or they used to, in LA, the LA Podcast Festival. And Steele did a couple live shows there, and that's how I met him. Mostly from drinking at the after parties, but but yeah.
So I met you.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's how these festivals work. Everyone gets together and they're kind of like, oh, this is hectic. There's a lot of stuff to do on the floor, but then afterward, everyone kind of relaxes and gets to meet everyone.
Are you going solo to Anaheim this time, or are you taking some friends, or?
There's a couple people from Celebration Past that we're already planning on kind of rooming together and doing that, so that's going to be fun.
Yep.
And then I'm trying to try to, of course, because it is a little bit closer to where I live. I live in Northern California, and it's going to be in Southern California. I'm going to try to get some more of my homegrown friends to come along as well. But it's going to be a little bit tougher now because they're going to have to buy resale tickets if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I have a theory on that. I think that people, because of the resale, people just bought them so they had them, and then sort of worry about the rest later on. Because we had a few people, who I've had on who went to Chicago, and they're kind of like, oh, I'd like to go, but I don't know if I can do this, and I don't know, like, I'll have to wait and see. And I just said, look, just get them. You can always resell them. You can always return them. Like, you'd rather not have them. Like, you wouldn't want to be able to have that decision. And for us, coming from Australia, we just had to have them. We can't make those decisions later, so we were
so
all
far in advance
we were on the website at 2 a.m. here because it was 2 a.m. Set the alarm, wake up. Luckily I had a small child. I was up at the 2 a.m. a lot of the time anyway, so it didn't really matter. But it was just good to lock in. So we've got a house opposite Disneyland all booked up, so hopefully that doesn't get cancelled on us, which will be a bit tragic. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad there's a little gap. I'm like, even more than a year is good, but I'm just not sure about what they're going to show. So
I'm excited. Well, one, because I kind of know the area very well. I am a Disneyland annual pass holder, so I go very frequently. You're a good man to know. Yeah, so I know all the good spots around there.
So have you been to Galaxy's Edge yet?
I have. And
how can you give us the breakdown, or the full breakdown? But did it match up? Did it stack up?
So when we first got there, one thing I'll notice is I didn't see as many stormtroopers as I hoped to see. I kind of expected them to constantly be filing around, and I saw once in a while, and that was it. And that was a bit of a bummer. I was expecting a little bit more. I never saw the main character of Galaxy's Edge, the woman, I forget her name.
The lady, yep.
Yeah, I never saw her, and I was there for longer than my window.
6 days.
so the window is for 4 hours, right? That you were allowed to stay, because it was during the reservation period. But apparently at night, they really stopped caring, because our window ended at 8, and we didn't leave until 11.
Yep.
Yeah, so we just stayed. We got in the cantina.
Like, until someone asks me to leave, we'll just stay.
Yeah, we got in the cantina. That was great. We got to do the ride, of course, which was great. I got to be a pilot, which is
nice.
Which is the funnest position probably. So, except there's 2 pilots, because one goes up and down, one goes left and right.
So do you sort of grab the handlebars like the Falcon? Like, are they kind of like when you see Solo? Is it like that steering column, or is it more?
It's more like a joystick type of thing.
Oh, okay, so it's not the sort of same.
Like you go like either left or right or up or down. But the only thing that sucks is, so I was going left or right, and the person next to me was going up or down. But what they have is, if you go up and down, you have the light speed lever. And
that's the one.
that was the one I wanted to. Right when they said, "Quick, punch it to light speed," I was just like sadly looking over and watching them get to grab it and pull down. And I was like,
"You're like, we could do it like Han and Chewie and do it together.
Exactly.
Like they, you could have looked over and did a little smile and pulled the lever together."
But the surprising thing for me that I enjoyed the most was actually the market, because
yeah, right.
I'm a big fan of theming. I love, like, that's why I go to Disneyland. I love themes. I love going to all the different lands and exploring them. And the market, what they do is they set up all the shops so that they all have different merchandise from each other. So most of the time in Disneyland, you can find the same stuff at pretty much every store. Like, no matter where you're at, it's like, okay, I can buy this Disney pin, I can buy this Mickey Mouse pin here and at every single other store in the entire park. There, it's like, here's a pin in this shop. It is only in sale in this shop. Here's a stuffed animal that is only in this shop. Here's a robe that is only in this shop. So you actually have to go shop to shop, and it feels like you're actually shopping in this little marketplace. And then there's like all these hanging lights, and especially at night, like, it's the one part where I really felt like truly immersed, where I was like, oh, I feel like I'm going through this little market, like this bazaar.
Yeah. That's cool. And then you just pull out your space credit card.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's what they say too. They don't say like money. They say, "Oh, do you have any? It'll be 8 credits for this." You're like, "Okay."
Oh.
You're like,
You're like, what's the exchange? You're like 1 to 1.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Okay. Oh, okay, makes sense. Quick, swipe your payment chip, and I'm like, "All right, here we go."
He's like, I've got his 10,000 Republic Drectari. You're like, yeah, like we hear it all the time. Just pay for your damn.
Exactly.
Stuff Jawa and get out of here. Well, it's a good time to go. I mean, I know like this rides and stuff aren't quite finished. They've got some other stuff that's coming, but I guess if you go early on, there's also still a lot of enthusiasm from the employees and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there is as much cynicism, I suppose, after they've been doing it for a year and a half, and
especially with the crowd control.
Excited.
Like sometimes you can tell, like, people, especially in the summertime in Disneyland, are like, "Oh, there's so many people here," and because it's not as crowded right now. And then there's a whole. I'll get to that little hullabaloo in a second. That people are trying to make the comment that it's because of Star Wars Land. That's not what it is. The thing is, so I feel like they're even like a little bit more kind, because they're like, "Oh, this is nice. This is a little bit more relaxing than a typical summertime at Disneyland," And the reason, by the way, it's not as packed has nothing to do with Star Wars is dead. It's because the main annual pass holder, which is the bottom tier, has been completely blocked out, and it will continue to be blocked out for the next 2 weeks. It has been for the last month and a half. So that's why the park is empty, because most of the annual pass holders can't go right now.
Right. Is that just the Star Wars or the whole park?
The whole park, all of Disneyland.
Really? So there's actually still restrictions even if you get a whole annual pass.
Yeah, so I actually upgraded to the more expensive one because I wanted to be able to go to Star Wars Land.
You're like, hey, I don't want any restrictions, man. I want to be able to walk in.
Yeah, I got no strings to hold me down. Disney reference.
So how long does it take you to get to Disney from your place?
I gotta fly. I mean, I could drive.
Oh, you still gotta fly.
I could drive, but it would take like 5-6 hours.
Right, so it's like a 6-hour flight. Hour and a half hour flight kind of thing.
So it's like an hour flight. It's a quick one. And I work for an airline, so it's pretty easy. Yeah.
Good to have people on the inside.
Yeah, exactly. And so then basically, you save money on the tickets because you have an annual pass, and then because you go so often, you spend way more money than you normally would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So either way, they get you.
Oh yeah. And I'm used I'm definitely Disney shilling it up. I'll tell you that much.
Oh man, my daughter turned 4 on the weekend, and we had a party for her, and Frozen is her thing. She's really into Frozen.
Ooh, nice.
So we just looked at, like, I've got a photo of just like she's unpacked all her presents, and there's 7 or 8 Frozen cards. Anna and Elsa. There's all this stuff. I'm just like, between her and me with all my Star Wars crap, like we're just the biggest Disney shill household.
Oh, yeah.
They've absolutely got us by the short and curlies, like absolutely. So, yeah, Frozen 2, that'll be a big thing at our house.
It'll be a big event.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming that it'll, Princess Anna will have fire powers. That's how they'll do it. Princess Elsa has ice.
Yeah.
Discover Princess Anna has fire. That makes sense to me. I don't know. Sorry if I'm spoiling it to anybody.
Oh,
I'm just guessing.
Sounds good. No, I I actually did. I've done "Let It Go" karaoke before, so heyo.
Oh no! Well, you should. Yeah, my daughter would like you then. She'd.
Yeah.
We had the playlist at where we had the party. It was sort of like a kindergarten you could hire out here, and we had the Bluetooth speaker and things in the playlist, and Let It Go was on the playlist, and all the little 4-year-old girls in their dresses all ran over to the thing and all started dancing and doing the singing and stuff. And
Nice.
it's like, yeah, that's their anthem, man. You know, that's.
It's a great song. I'm a big musical theater person, and it's just a very well-made musical theater song.
There is a stage production of Frozen. Isn't there?
Yes, there is. And
have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. I want to see it. There's actually, and Frozen. I've liked Frozen, but I never like loved it because just because I like some of the songs. I don't like the others. But when I rode the ride at Disney World, there's this great moment where the song's playing. Let It Go, and you're in this boat.
I'm familiar with it.
And right before the song fully kicks in again, and the last part of it, but after it vamps up, the boat changes tracks and then instead shoots backwards. And as the song is playing, like there's lights like shining like glowing snowflakes above you, like shooting. And I almost started tearing up. I was like, this is amazing. I was like, I believe in magic. Miracles are real.
Oh my god! Well, we're talking about whether, because I'm flying over to Anaheim for Disney for celebration, obviously, and we're hiring this house opposite Disney, and my partner Kat's just going, well, maybe we should just make it a family holiday. We'll come over the week after. We keep the house for another week, and we do Disney, and Oliver will be 5 by then, but our youngest daughter will only be 1 and a bit. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. That's a long way to take some kids for Disneyland. It's a lot of money to spend on some kids who might not even remember they're at Disney. I'm like going, well, if Olive goes on that Frozen ride, she ain't forgetting that anytime soon.
Well, that's at Disney World, though, unfortunately.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So
maybe I've sealed it.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, maybe they'll chuck something in there for Frozen too. You never know.
Yeah.
But, talking the big Frozen talk here.
Yeah, of course.
Cover all the
Frozen spelt out.
Oh man, I could just get Oliver on. We could just talk about Frozen all the time. So Mandalorian, did you get into the Mandalorian panel at Celebration? Have you seen the footage?
I got into the overflow room, or the viewing room, or whatever they called it. So I did see the footage.
You still got to see everything.
Yeah, and
were you one of the people who nearly walked out when they thought it was over?
No, I stayed because I was like, I'm not leaving until I know for sure everything's done. But I love that footage. I actually came away with that being my favorite panel because I was in the overflow room for Rise of Skywalker too. And of course it was great seeing that trailer with the fans all around and everyone screaming and everything. But The Mandalorian gave us so much. It was like a behind the scenes, an entire scene, and a trailer. I was like, this is a lot.
And they're haven't shown anybody since.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's insane because it looks, because I understand if they show something and they're kind of like, oh, who knows why they'd be like, afraid, but it looked amazing.
Yeah, it looked so expensive.
Yes.
Like it didn't look like, it kind of felt like it was almost like if you'd shot Return of the Jedi like Rogue One.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it had the Return of the Jedi, a lot of design stuff from Return of the Jedi, but the shooting style was felt like Rogue One, just the way that it was sort of shot.
Yeah, especially when they're in the city in Rogue One, when the walkers are going through and they're battling it out with the stormtroopers, like especially that scene.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Like I feel like I we were lucky enough to be in the arena for it, so we saw the footage as well. And I feel like, oh well, I know I've seen so much more than most. I know there's a bit of shaky cam footage and stuff that doesn't really give you the experience. Like I feel like I'm privileged enough to be in this position of people who know more than most, but I still feel like I don't know anything. I feel like I need to, because you can't pour over it. Like with when the trailer comes out for Rise of Skywalker, you freeze phrasing every little thing to get the details. And Mandalorian, we just, it's just impossible to do. So that you just to think about when they finally release that footage, you'd be able to just go with a little comb and pick out all the tiny details. And it looked like there was so much little design nods and stuff in there.
Yeah, and they just kept like bringing out so many character actors that I was like, this is Giancarlo Esposito looks amazing in the show. Of course, Werner Herzog, that narrator, the voiceover that he does is amazing. It's like I was just like eating it up. I was this tastes delicious. I love all this.
A lot of it's, I think, because they've shot most of it in LA too. It means you're getting a lot more of those familiar faces. Because normally when you shoot, a lot of this Star Wars stuff's been shot in Australia or the UK and stuff. So you get your big, your sort of your marquee names, and then it's always like local English actor. Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith is full of like that guy was on Australian soap operas, and that guy was on this, and there's still a lot of that. But then all of a sudden you go, we're shooting this whole series in the United States, and all of a sudden you're seeing people who you've seen on shows all the time, and like, oh, there's that guy, there's that guy. So the recognition factor sort of jumps up, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And I kind of wonder, like, could they even have this show if it wasn't such like a big, we just had 2 giant movies in the original Skywalker saga plus 2 other movies. Like, could they have done this a few years after Revenge of the Sith and gotten actors of that caliber? And I don't think they could have.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Star Wars, but even so, you've got to get the credibility. Obviously, having the Disney money behind it doesn't hurt and things. But I don't know. Like, they kind of talked about, because they talked about that Star Wars show for years, that they were going to make the live action one, the 1313 or whatever it was. I don't think it would have looked as good as this.
No,
I feel like it would have been a lot more blue screeny shot. Like, it would have been a lot more of a visual Revenge of the Sith era kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, and and especially with the way it is now with streaming platforms, because they're basically using this as like a tentpole to be like, you should subscribe to Disney Plus. Look at the high quality content that stuff like Hulu and Netflix is making. We need to make it up to that, if not better. So there's a whole lot of factors that go into it, into why we are getting this movie quality looking TV show about Star Wars. Which, if you would have told me or you that 10 years ago, you would have. I don't believe you. That's not going to happen. Why would?
Yeah, and it would have been weird because it would have been like, that was always the thing about the 1313 one. You're going, well, like, is it what station is it going to be on? Is it going to be on TV? Is it just going to be on like, like your regular, like we have like our commercial channels here, like 789, which is like your CBS, ABC, NBC. It's like, is Star Wars going to be on NBC? I might have to sit through ad breaks to watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, the whole viewing thing would have just been awful. It would have just been a terrible viewing experience. But like now you got this sort of streaming thing, and I guess Disney's going, hey, if we get 500,000 subscribers for a couple of months who are all paying $8, kind of pays for itself in the first few months.
And I'm still shocked.
Infrastructure aside, but
I'm still shocked at that price point.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on how much content they've got. There's sort of not quite sure what we're getting in Australia yet. How they're doing it. There's a secondary streaming platform we have in Australia that's sort of everything that isn't on Netflix goes to, called Stan. And they've when Disney left Netflix, they dumped all their stuff on there. So we're kind of hoping that's where it ends up in the short term.
Okay.
So we don't have to pay for a third service.
But
we'll see.
Yeah, right now I'm paying for Amazon Prime, Hulu, Netflix. I pay for
Spotify probably.
I pay for Spotify. I pay for NBC Sports Gold so I can watch the English Premier League. It's just there's a lot.
Nice.
There's a lot.
Who do you follow in the Premier League?
I mostly just follow the league. I used to watch Manchester United because I'm Portuguese and Ronaldo played there.
Yeah.
So I had to have that pilgrimage to where I watched them. I was a Manchester United fan because I was a Ronaldo fan. After he left them, I was kind of like whatever. Now I just enjoy the league because it's the most entertaining football league in the world. So I just really enjoy the drama of it.
I was a big Premier League flag when I moved to England. I got right into it, and I was a Chelsea fan. And I went for a few seasons. I went every game. I paid my £50 a game and went and saw us win the league.
Oh, so you were there for the Mourinho years?
Yeah, so I was there for the Mourinho years and the Mourinho sacking, and then I was there for the second Mourinho years, and then all the guys in between. VS Boas and Gus Hiddink and all those Ancelotti, all those years and stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think the sacking, this isn't really Star Wars talk or whatever.
Yeah,
The
it's
sacking of
fine.
Ancelotti was what set them back for years, that club. But the Champions League, I saw I didn't get to go to the final, but I went to the semi-finals. We played Barcelona, the home leg against Barcelona.
Yeah.
The game before that against Napoli, when we came from 3 goals down or whatever it was to win. That was the best night I ever had at
Nice.
Stamford Bridge. Ibrahimovic got those last couple of goals, but yeah,
Yeah, I went
that
one
was,
time. I went to one match at Old Trafford. It was this was that was the United team where it was Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo, Giggs, Scholes, Ferdinand, Vidic, Neville, Evra, Van der Sar, just like stacked, just like the best United team in like the past, since like Beckham was there, and that was amazing to go see. But now they're a little bit different.
Things change.
Yes.
Things change, as they
Just
say.
like Star Wars changes. Hey, is that a segue? I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of whatever. It's my podcast. We're talking about whatever we like. Too bad.
Yeah.
Sports and Star Wars sometimes goes. I've been doing all these sports designs mashup merchandise for the podcast.
Yeah, those look great, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. I've been doing most of them are sort of Australian rules football based. So it's a very niche market, I suppose. But I did a Utah Jazz one for Dallas Wood because he was like, bro, I love Utah Jazz and I love Lando Calrissian.
Yep.
So, and then our friend Jess, she's a Minnesota Vikings fan, so she wanted a Minnesota Vikings mashup. So I'm trying to do some baseball ones for Celebration. So I've got a Dodgers one, I think I've got, and then I've got a Angels one I'm trying to work out at the moment as well.
Okay.
But it's hard because I was sort of going, baseball's quite possessive of their teams. It's like someone with well, I'm not going to wear that because it looks like a freaking Dodgers hat. So
I wouldn't wear a Dodgers thing. Sorry.
That's what would you wear? What would be
my
the one
my
that win
team's
you
the
over?
Giants, but you're not going to have a lot of love for that in Southern California. I'm going to say that much.
Yeah,
but
right.
I do. You did come with, of course, the amazing beanies at Celebration.
Yeah. Did you get one?
I didn't get one, unfortunately, but it's okay because I have a giant head, so it probably wouldn't have fit me anyway. So it's okay.
Well, the question is with the beanies is this. I've been asked, is like, are you going to do it again? I keep going, well, it's going to be hot. It's going to be California. No one's going to wear them.
It's going to be August in California. It's going to be way too hot.
Well, that was why I'm just like, well, I just do caps or something that's a bit more sun smart. But I don't know. I'm still getting a lot of people asking, so I might even just. I only need to get 20 people who want one, and then I can do a little run. So I might just be like, hey, look, if you really want one, I'll do 20, and I'll sell them at cost. So it'll be sort of like $17, $18, and I'll make them and I'll bring them, and I'll customize them for this celebration. I'll make them a different color so they're unique.
Nice.
If we get at least 20 people who want them,
oh yeah,
great. Like, I'll
got
do
one
it.
right
I'm
here.
happy to do
I'm
it.
in.
Yeah, well, there you go. So I'm still happy to do it. It's just more going. It's the good thing was at Chicago, because it was so freaking cold, everybody wore them, so you could just spot them a mile away. So
yeah,
it was very handy. You knew where all your friends were because it was like, oh, there's somebody over there with a beanie, and there's someone over there with a beanie. But yeah, and it was always because I the first 2 days I I saw most of the people who I needed to give them to, and I was just carrying them around and slowly getting rid of them. And then by you make more and more friends. So by the time I got to the last 2 days, I had all these new friends. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I've got none left. Like I didn't have any. And then I met Bobby Moynihan on the last day of Celebration. I'm like, oh, I wish I'd had one to give you. Like I just
yeah.
I had to give him a pin instead. But it's yeah. So that's always the bummer. That's always the bummer.
Yeah,
but you can't please everybody.
I designed a Star Wars shirt where it was right before Force Awakens came out. So all I had to go on was like the promo shots and the trailer. So I did like the First Order flag with like the new stormtroopers underneath it, kind of like in a line, like two lines of them, zooming in. You know what I mean? Like smaller, bigger towards the camera. And I gave one to Graham Elwood. And every once in a while, I'll just see like him like post pictures of live podcasts or whatever, and he's always wearing it. And then so I saw him again. I was like, hey, I see you're still wearing that shirt I gave you. He's like, oh yeah, it's my favorite shirt. I'm like, okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
The cotton's fantastic.
I was like, that feels really good. Thank you. It's very nice of you.
Yeah. Oh. It's always nice, isn't it? It's always nice. I think there was a couple of, I can't remember who it was. I saw somebody, I think some of the Imperial Senate kids, Charlie and Claire and stuff. I think they had a couple of people they spotted who were wearing their badges and stuff as well, which was always nice. It was, it's like, it's a nice feeling, and I really enjoyed sort of just giving stuff out, and it was a big deal just because we come so far on first celebration. It's like, you just want to leave a little souvenir, let people know you were there, whether you don't know whether you ever come back or not. But all right, before we kick this home, mate, let's talk reaction videos. Now, you got into the reaction game. It's like getting in the rap game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Getting in the reaction game.
Yeah, well, I used to do a movie podcast with a friend of mine. We would do a weekly show. Every week we'd do reviews, and we'd talk movie news, and eventually, life gets in the way, and, work schedules are different for two different people, and we just couldn't really get it done. So I took a little break from online content creation for a little while, and I decided recently, okay, I'm gonna get a webcam. I'm gonna go ahead and start doing some video reviews and then doing some video reactions as well. And so I've been getting into that, and it's been fun. I
have to say that you're like we're talking on Skype right now. Like your framing and your video, it's the best quality of anyone I've ever had on this show.
Okay.
Like the lighting is perfect, the framing is perfect, the picture is perfect. Like there's a guy who's obviously spent some time getting his everything just in the right position.
Well, that's the good thing that comes from doing some photography is I have some lighting that I can put up and be like, okay, this is gonna light up my face, so everything's gonna look clear. And then I learned, really quickly that it's the internet, and people immediately got someone got mad at me at my Top Gun reaction. Because
too excited, not excited enough.
I said, this looks great. I wish I would have gotten some kind of clue of what the plot is of this movie because I have no idea. And immediately, some people were like, how are you looking for plot? It's Top Gun. Who cares? And I'm like, hey, man, it's like, I said like 2 sentences. Like, it's fine.
I just want to know a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, everything's fine. But for the most part, it's been people being very nice for the most part. So it's okay.
I think when it comes to the internet, you gotta take the crunchy with the smooth, really, don't you? You just gotta you gotta roll with it, and if it keeps growing, you'll have the more lovers and the more haters, as they say.
My favorite week in Star Wars Twitter is if someone calls me an SJW, someone calls me a beta, soy boy, any of these things, I'm already excited because I feel like I've done my job.
They're gonna think of some new stuff. Like it's pretty. That's all been done, Yeah. Like I know that they didn't think of it on their own, and they're not probably creative enough to think of anything that clever. Not that that's particularly clever, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not like they're coming up with new stuff. But I mean, do you think? I don't think Rise of Skywalker is going to get that same sort of. I don't think it's going to energize that base of people. I think like Last Jedi. I think Last Jedi was very much of a certain thing. I think that people have sort of said their piece. I don't think you can really fire that. But it'll actually hopefully just diffuse that, and people can have something else to complain about. Maybe they'll just complain that whatever Rey wins the day or doesn't win the day, or give them something else to whinge about. Really.
But I think there are people that just hate Rian Johnson so much. They'll also find things they like about it, just so they can say, well, look how much better J.J. Abrams did with this stuff than Ruin Johnson did. That's and I think that's the other thing.
Well, I just feel bad that he's got another movie coming out, and people will just be like, well, that just sucks regardless.
Yeah, by the way, that trailer looks great. Yeah. Knives Out.
It looks great.
A ton of fun.
Yeah. 5 stars.
Yeah. I'm already excited. And I love Rian Johnson. I'm sorry. I was a big fan of his already. I loved Brick. I loved Looper. So, it has nothing to do with being a Star Wars shill. It's just I love Rian Johnson.
Have you seen Brothers Bloom?
Brothers Bloom, I have not.
No, I haven't seen it either. That's the sort of like the dark stepchild of the Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
I hear it's actually pretty good. I've just got to. Apparently, it's really hard to. I don't think it's on any streaming services here in Australia. I think this came up recently. I think Matt Grant from Blue Banther might have even tweeted Rian Johnson and got a response saying, I can't get it here. Like, how can I see this movie in Australia? And he was a bit like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would actually like to go back and watch that. But thanks so much for coming on, mate. Pleasure.
Of course.
We'll get you on again soon. Plug away all your things.
Yeah. If you want to check out some photography stuff, my Instagram is at the Paul Ponte. Ponte is Ponte. And that's the same handle as I use on Twitter, the Paul Ponte. And I also post stuff on podcast-wise at SWG Podcast on Twitter. Most of that stuff is on Twitter. You'll find it on there. If you look up thescreenwatchersguild.com, I post it on there. That's the name of my podcast. Yeah.
Great, and then you'll be catching our Premier League podcast coming up soon. When we talk about not new Premier League stuff, we talk about Premier League from about 10 years ago when I knew some stuff.
Yeah, will we sound like old men going, "Those were the days."
Those are the days.
That's what, the game's gone.
The Mourinho Ferguson years, they were the days.
Yeah, the game's gone now.
Oh, cool, mate. Thanks so much, mate.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Love your podcast. It's awesome, man.